You know that feeling when everything in your life feels stuck? Not dramatically stuck, just stuck. You have goals, plans, a clear sense of what you should be doing, but somehow you're not doing any of it. You wake up with good intentions, the day unfolds, and by evening, nothing's changed. The dishes are still in the sink, the email is still unwritten, the project is still untouched, and you tell yourself tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow comes and it's the same thing. What's interesting about this isn't that it happens, it's how universal it is, and how little it actually has to do with laziness or lack of willpower or any of the things we usually blame. There's something else going on, a pattern that keeps you from starting. And once you understand it, the solution becomes almost absurdly simple. In Japan, they figured this out a long time ago, not through some elaborate system or productivity framework. Through something so small it sounds ridiculous when you first hear it. 2 minutes. That's the whole thing. Not 2 hours, not a major commitment, just 2 minutes. And somehow, that changes everything. Let's talk about what's actually happening when you feel stuck. Most people assume it's a motivation problem. You just need to want it more, right? Get inspired, find your why, watch some motivational videos. But that's not what's going on. The real issue is something psychologists call initiation resistance. Every time you think about doing something, your brain runs a quick calculation. How long will this take? How much effort? How much energy will I need? And if that calculation feels too big, your brain just opts out. Not consciously. You don't actively decide, I'm choosing not to do this. You just don't feel like it right now. You'll do it later. When you have more time, more energy, when you're in the right mood. But later never quite arrives, because the resistance doesn't go away. It actually gets worse. Research on task aversion shows that the longer we avoid something, the more psychological weight it accumulates. That one dirty dish becomes a pile. The inbox grows. The project transforms into this massive, overwhelming thing that feels impossible to even start. And now you're not just resisting the task itself, you're resisting the guilt, the shame, the feeling of being behind. So you avoid it more, and it gets bigger, and the cycle continues. This is why your life feels stuck. Not because you can't do hard things, but because you never start the small things. And small things have a way of becoming big things when you let them pile up. What's fascinating is that Japanese culture identified this pattern centuries ago. Not through psychology research, but through simple observation of how humans actually work. The rule is almost embarrassingly straightforward. If something takes less than 2 minutes, you do it immediately. Not in a minute. Not after you finish what you're doing. Right now. Dirty dish in the sink? Wash it. 2 minutes. Email you need to send? Write it. 2 minutes. Coat on the floor? Hang it up. 2 minutes. This sounds too simple to matter, and that's exactly the point. Because the problem was never the task. The problem was the decision. When you see a dirty dish and think, I'll do it later, you've created something that didn't exist before. A decision you'll have to make. A thing on your mental to-do list. A tiny source of background stress every time you walk past the sink. But when you see the dish and wash it immediately, there's no decision, no deliberation, no accumulating stress. It's just done. What happens next is where things get interesting. The 2-minute rule works because of how human psychology actually functions, not how we wish it functioned. First, it eliminates what researchers call decision fatigue. Every micro-decision, every should I do this now or later, drains mental energy. Dozens of these every day, and each one costs you something. When you have a clear rule, 2 minutes or less means do it now, the decision disappears. Your brain doesn't have to weigh options or consider timing or evaluate energy levels. It just acts. That freed up mental energy goes toward things that actually matter. Second, it prevents accumulation before it starts. One dirty dish is nothing. 10 dirty dishes feels like a project. One email is simple. 50 emails is paralyzing. The rule catches things while they're still small, before they become problems, before they start weighing on you. And third, and this might be the most important part, it creates momentum. Action tends to create more action. Not through willpower, through physics. An object in motion stays in motion. You wash one dish, then another. Then you wipe the counter. Then you take out the trash. You didn't plan to clean the whole kitchen, but you did. Because once you started, continuing felt easier than stopping. Research on behavioral activation shows that movement generates motivation, not the other way around. We've got it backwards. We think we need to feel motivated before we act. But actually, acting is what creates the feeling of motivation. The 2-minute rule makes starting so easy that you bypass the whole motivation problem entirely. This isn't just a productivity hack someone invented last year. It's rooted in something deeper. In Japanese philosophy, there's a concept called kaizen, continuous improvement through small incremental steps, not big dramatic transformations, not overnight success, small daily improvements, so small they're almost invisible in the moment, but over time, they compound into something significant. Japanese companies use this principle to dominate entire industries. Toyota didn't become one of the most successful car manufacturers in the world through massive overhauls. They did it by asking, every single day, what one small thing can we improve? A process that could be 1 second faster, a tool that could be positioned 2 inches closer, a step that could be eliminated entirely. Individually, these changes meant almost nothing. Collectively, over years, they created an unstoppable advantage. And the same principle applies to your life. You're not trying to transform everything at once. You're just handling the next small thing in front of you. That dish, that email, that piece of trash on the floor. Handle it and watch what compounds. Let's talk about what actually happens when you start using this. Day 1, you wash a dish immediately instead of leaving it. It feels slightly unnatural. You're used to letting things sit. Day 2, you respond to an email right away. You hang up your coat as soon as you take it off. You throw away trash the moment you see it. It still feels a bit forced, like you're trying too hard. Day 3, something shifts. You notice your kitchen is cleaner, not because you cleaned it, because nothing piled up. Day 4, your mind feels quieter. Fewer things nagging at you. Fewer, I really should do that thoughts running in the background. Day 5, you start a 2-minute task and keep going. Not because you planned to, you just had momentum. Day 6, someone asks how you stay so organized. You're not even sure, you're just handling things as they come up. Day 7, you realize something changed. Your life isn't stuck anymore. Not because you made some massive transformation, but because you stopped letting small things pile up into big resistance. The environment around you didn't transform overnight, but it's moving now. And movement, it turns out, is everything. There are a few ways people misunderstand this, and it's worth addressing them. The first mistake is trying to do everything at once. They hear about the 2-minute rule and think, great, I'm going to handle every tiny task in my life right now. And they burn out in 2 days. That's not how this works. You apply the rule when you notice something, organically, naturally. You see a dish, you wash it. You don't go hunting for tasks to complete. The second mistake is using it as an excuse to avoid real work. If you're supposed to be writing a report, don't suddenly start organizing your desk because it only takes 2 minutes. That's not productivity. That's procrastination with extra steps. The rule is for handling small tasks as they appear in your day, not for escaping the important work you're avoiding. And the third mistake is letting 2 minutes stretch into 20. Someone decides to quickly organize this drawer. 20 minutes later, they're still organizing. That's a different task. If it's going to take more than 2 minutes, stop. Schedule it for later. The power of this rule lives in its speed. Keep it fast. The thing about being stuck is that it's rarely about the big things. It's the accumulation of small things. Tiny tasks you keep putting off. Decisions you keep deferring. Little bits of friction that pile up until moving forward feels impossible. The 2-minute rule doesn't solve big problems. It prevents them from becoming big in the first place. Your life doesn't feel stuck because you can't do hard things. It feels stuck because you're carrying around dozens of small unfinished tasks, and each one creates a tiny drag on your momentum. When you handle things immediately, when they're still small, something changes. Your environment stays clear, your mind stays clear, And when something genuinely important comes up, you actually have the space to handle it. You're not wading through accumulated resistance just to get started. You're already in motion. And that's the real difference between people who seem to get things done effortlessly and people who feel perpetually stuck. It's not talent. It's not discipline. It's not some superior work ethic. It's just not letting small things become big things. Your life probably isn't stuck because you can't do hard things. It's stuck because you're not doing the easy things. The dishes, the emails, the tiny tasks you keep deferring to later. They accumulate. They create resistance. And resistance kills momentum faster than anything else. But when you handle things immediately, when they're still small and manageable, everything shifts. You don't need a perfect system. You don't need a productivity app. You don't need to overhaul your entire life. You just need a simple rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. That's it. Try it today, right after this video ends. Find one thing that takes 2 minutes and just do it. Don't think about it. Don't plan it. Don't add it to a list. Just handle it. And then tomorrow, do it again. Watch what happens when you stop letting small things pile up. Because the problem was never that you couldn't move forward. The problem was you weren't starting. And now you know how to start. If this shifted something for you, I'd appreciate you subscribing. I break down ideas like this, simple shifts that create bigger changes than you'd expect. What's the one 2-minute task you've been avoiding? Let me know in the comments.